welcome to another episode of Maunalua Past, Present, and Future. This is Kendrick Chang here today with Livable Hawaii Kai Hui, and I have two fantastic guests here who have been very active in the Maunalua community, and particularly as leaders of Friends of Hanauma Bay. We have Lisa Bishop here, Friends of Hanauma Bay's president, and Anke Roberts, who is also involved with Friends of Hanauma Bay. So thanks for you both for being with us here today. And I'm just going to start off with our first question to Lisa is like, what have you been up to, especially since you've been on this show before?
Well, thank you, Kendrick. And again, thank you for the invitation to be part of this episode. We are so honored and grateful that we have this capability in Hawaii Kai to work with so many great environmental organizations and to have some of our work shared with the Ōlelo audience. So thank you very much. Friends of Hanauma Bay is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year in 2020. We were established in 1990 as an all-volunteer 5013C that focuses on promoting the best stewardship of the natural resources of Hanauma Bay. I have had the privilege of leading this organization for the last 4 years, and this slide depicts some of the many achievements that my fellow board members and members of the Friends have managed to accomplish over the last 30 years. I'd like to highlight a couple of the ones that I'm particularly proud of. In 2017, it was the 50th anniversary of Hanauma Bay's designation as the state of Hawaii's first marine life conservation district. And part of Friends of Hanauma Bay's legacy to that 50th anniversary is that we created the Friends of Hanauma Bay Scholarship Program. Since its establishment in 2017, we have awarded over $20,500 in scholarships to Kaiser High School seniors who are involved with the Kaiser Wipeout Crew environmental group under the leadership of faculty advisor Paul Balaz. One of the most rewarding things about this scholarship program is the funds for the scholarship are donated by members of the Friends and the community. And Friends of Hanauma Bay gets an actual opportunity to meet and get to know every single one of our scholarship recipients. And these are truly the next generations of Hawaii's leaders. And it is just so rewarding to me to be a mentor to some of these students and to help them along to achieve some of their goals in their own life. They was involved with was in 2017. We did a landmark study of the chemical sunscreen levels at Hanauma Bay. It has never been done before and hasn't been tested since, but we found that in the water samples that we took, Hanauma Bay had the highest measured level of sunscreen pollution anywhere in the state of Hawaii. This is unsurprising because Hanauma Bay is also the #1 aquatic tourist attraction in the state of Hawaii. What was really further important about the study that we did was our research helped convince our legislators and our governor to pass the world's first ban on the sale of certain reef toxic chemicals. And that law goes into effect in January of 2021. And Hawaii, when it passed that ban, led the world in doing so. And right after we passed the law, places like Aruba, Bonaire, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Marshall Islands, Palau, even Key West, laws. And that law passed by Hawaii also has started the greatest consumer-driven change in the personal care product industry anywhere in its history. And so we are particularly proud to be part of that. One of the other things that Friends of Hanauma Bay did was we were honored with being the recipient of the League of Women Voters Astrid Monson Award last year. That prestigious award is shared with organizations who do work on issues that are of public interest or who help lead some environmental efforts. We were so grateful to receive the award last year, and we were just notified that Friends of Sherwood Forest and Save Ala Moana Beach Park are the recipients of the 2020 Astrid Monson Award, and they have done such phenomenal work this year, and we wanted to share our congratulations and to say well done to them as well. We're so proud of the work that they have done.
And no, thank you again for all your work, giving back to community, and also even just providing opportunities for the next generation. And now you guys haven't stopped, even though with COVID-19 and the pandemic that kind of just changed our lives back in March. You guys haven't stopped, so I was kind of curious, what exactly have you guys been doing since March?
Well, thank you for that question. Although the pandemic has been really a terrible, unprecedented thing for all of us to live through, it has been a silver lining for many of our natural resources, and Hanauma Bay is one of those. We have found that because Hanauma Bay was closed in March to the public because of the pandemic, we have been seeing a phenomenal natural resurgence in the Marine Life Conservation District. This is the first time in probably 100 years where we don't have people walking on the corals, walking on the inner reef. It's the first time in over 40 years without having a consistent and constant introduction of sunscreens into the water. We have the Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology has been in doing one of their carrying capacity studies since the bay closed, and they have determined that the water clarity is about 80% better than it was when we had visitors coming to the bay, 3,000 to 6,000 visitors a day, because sedimentation is so much less. So visitors swimming and snorkeling in the water tended to produce some artificial sedimentation and resuspension, and that is no longer available. In our citizen science opportunities to go into the bay, we have seen a greater improvement in the kinds of marine life that are readily visible in the water. And we also notice, again, with no sunscreen, that you don't taste it in the water. You don't see that chemical haze on top of the water. You don't smell it in the air. So one of the other benefits, in addition to this natural resurgence at the bay, is that it's providing scientists and researchers the very first opportunity to look at Hanauma Bay as a pristine marine life conservation district and a pristine marine embayment under the Clean Water Act. So there is no like this ever captured at Hanauma Bay before, because once scientists started coming in, they were measuring water quality with people visiting, and now they can actually measure water quality of what a pristine MLCD should look like. So it's an unprecedented and unequaled opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and no, and I want to turn to
so we've all,
you mentioned
I'm
about
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you mentioned about the citizen science projects that just started, and with the slide here, I wanted to just kind of ask you, what exactly are you guys doing with these research projects?
Well, thank you for that question. As I mentioned earlier, we did the landmark study on sunscreen pollution at Hanauma Bay in 2017, and the results of that study are found in the top slide on the top left. So we decided to take this opportunity, since the closure of the bay has limited the number of visitors to almost zero coming into the water, to do a follow-up water sample study. And so we took 7 out of the 10 sites, pretty close to them, what we monitored in 2017, and we collected water. And this year, instead of only measuring the amount of oxybenzone in the water that we're going to be measuring over 16 different chemicals found in personal care products. So it's going to be an exciting result, and if with any luck, we'll be able to take samples in the same sites sometime after the bay opens to visitors again, to see the impact of no visitors versus visitors and what they bring to the marine environment when they step in the water. We've been supported in all of our citizen science by Representative Ward, and down here on the right corner, we have some of the members of Friends of Hanauma Bay and Ocean Defenders Alliance who have been part of that particular water monitoring study. I think the next slides, we're going to be talking about some of the other citizen science that we're doing, and I'd like to pass it on to Anke, who's going to be our lead citizen science leader, and without whom we couldn't be doing any of the citizen science at Hanauma Bay. So Anke.
Thank you, Lisa. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm the outreach coordinator for the Friends of Hanauma Bay. And within the last year, I also started to act as the editor of our newsletter. So I want to start very quickly with a picture that shows you the difference in the shallow water at Hanauma Bay on the left versus the outer reef, the deeper water, and what scuba divers see. Now, the researchers from HIMB who've been doing our carrying capacity study actually tell us that most of the visitors who come to Hanauma Bay, when we can go to Hanauma Bay, stay on the inner reef. It's very shallow, it's safe, but as a result, that means more than 95% of visitors swim in a very small area of Hanauma Bay. Lisa mentioned the sunscreen earlier. So the sunscreen makes the waters a little bit hazy. And a lot of swimmers who come to Hanauma Bay have never snorkeled before. They're not very confident in the water. And as a result, they do stir up a lot of sedimentation. So on a normal day, when Hanauma Bay gets 3,000 or more visitors, if you go late in the afternoon, it can be pretty murky. And that's not what you expect when you come to a marine life conservation district. So we wanted to focus our citizen science project on the inner reef, because this is the area that's really getting a break now during the pandemic shutdown. So I've got a couple of visuals here. The first thing we did is we took those water sampling sites that Lisa had mentioned, and we decided we want to start monitoring coral heads near those water sampling sites. So we get an idea of, well, how are they doing now while there's nobody in the water, no sunscreen or other pollutions from humans in the water, versus what's going to happen once the bay reopens and we have people starting to come back and enjoy Hanauma Bay. Now, this is actually a team effort, and we've had quite a bit of help. We, again, partnered with Ocean Defenders Alliance, and the two members from ODA are Ken Staples and Glenn Roberts. They're heading up the Hawaii chapter. We've also been joined by Representative Chris Lee, who currently represents Kailua and Waimanalo, and he's been very supportive of a number of the bills that we have also supported, Sunscreen Bill, Bill 40, and he was very interested in seeing what we are doing at Hanauma Bay and offered his support by coming in the water with us and helping us in the water. We made him work, and we're so grateful that he took that opportunity. Now, another person I would like to call out is Shannon Murphy. Shannon was our very first scholarship recipient in 2018. And Shannon is staying in touch with us. She is going to the University of Hawaii, and she reaches out regularly, and she comes to our events, and she offers to help as a volunteer. Now, Shannon is also the recipient of the 2020 NOAA Ernest F. Hollings Undergraduate Scholarship Program, which also includes an internship for her next summer at one of the NOAA facilities. So the fact that Shannon managed to come in the water with us and help us with one of our surveys, we are very excited about, because it's really that generation, the younger generation, that have to carry on and do a lot more work. We're only just laying the foundation and starting this. So we're really pleased with all the support that we've been getting from volunteers. And we're planning to do this every 4 to 6 weeks for at least the next year.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing. And, especially a story like Shannon's, I mean, that's great to hear that of your organization. And I guess, you mentioned earlier, to me offline about why this was so important. And I guess, if you could just share with the audience, why was this coral study really needed, and especially like at this point in time?
Thank you, Kendrick. The reason why we're doing it is actually a bit of a sad story. So a little bit more than a year ago, our friends and partners at Hanauma Bay in Kona on the Big Island asked us whether we were seeing any die-off of cauliflower coral or Posilopra meandrina. And we couldn't answer that question. So they shared with us some of these rather sad pictures. They had noticed on their regular swims that some of the cauliflowers that they saw every day, every week on their swims, that they were starting to die off. So they decided to go out, take some cameras with them, and they started taking photos of these. And they were rather shocked when they noticed the die-off of these coral heads literally happening while they could document it by taking a photo once a month. The first coral that they saw die, they decided to name Canary. That's the picture on the left there. And then when you look at Compadre on the right, and hopefully you can see the timestamp on these photos, they started taking these photos in May of 2018, and by July of 2019, that coral head had died. So we didn't know whether we were seeing the same at Hanauma Bay, and we said, well, we've got to start taking photos. We are sharing some of the same stresses, Kahului Bay and Hanauma Bay. Both bays are very popular with visitors. So you can really say they're being loved to death. We want to share it with the visitors, right? But that also means there is a lot of sunblock in the water when you get 3,000 or more daily visitors. And I mentioned earlier, not everybody's a comfortable swimmer. So there's trampling, there's touching, there's sitting on the reef. And that is not good for the coral that wants to grow there. So then there are other factors that we can't control quite as well as educating our visitors. And all the beaches and reefs around Hawaii share the same problem of climate change, ocean acidification, and coral bleaching. Hanauma Bay is very lucky. We don't get direct runoff into the bay. We also don't have fishing at Hanauma Bay. And Hanauma Bay is probably the only bay in the state of Hawaii right now that was lucky having a top gate where you can close the gate and you can say, in order to practice social distancing, we are closing that bay. So other bays and beautiful reefs around the state of Hawaii have not been so lucky. But we really want to see if we can monitor what they have been seeing elsewhere in the state of Hawaii.
No, I mean, that's really, great to hear. And, I was just curious, what kind of progress have you seen in terms of, just your monitoring so far in this process?
So what I have here started off about a year ago as well. At the time, we hadn't been trained properly by Dr. Craig Downs. It was just another member of the Friends of Hanauma Bay, Michael Feely, and I. We like going regular at Hanauma Bay and snorkel. So we decided, let's just take cameras. Let's bring an L ruler, right? So you can put a ruler down. You can point that ruler north. So let's just pick a few corals and let's start taking some photos. So the two samples that I picked here, you can see that over the span of a year, there is some degradation happening, but I am really pleased to see it does not appear to be as fast as what our friends are seeing in Kona at Kahului Bay. So we are seeing some degradation, and because we've been seeing this, we really started sort of July last year taking some of these photos. So we decided these two coral colonies we're going to include in our longer term study as well. And what we are doing right now is we're not just taking a top-down photo, but based on the recommendation by Dr. Craig Downs, we're actually taking photos from the different angles of the compass for each coral. So that gives us a lot more evidence where we can monitor the health of these corals and what is happening over time.
Yeah. No, that's, really great to hear. And, these are small steps in, this time period. But I want to just turn it back to Lisa as, what is really the plan moving forward? And I understand you kind of have a vision of what you guys have planned for the future.
Well, thank you, Kendrick. And thank you, Anke. Again, we couldn't be doing any of the citizen science without Anke and the volunteers who join us. And so we're just so grateful for them. But this is one of the most exciting things that has come out of this COVID closure of Hanauma Bay. We decided to see if perhaps it would be an opportune time to start a pilot coral restoration project at Hanauma Bay. And so with the help of Representative Jean Ward, we approached the Division of Aquatic Resources Hawaii Coral Restoration Nursery on Sand Island in July, and we took a white paper proposal to them and said, what do you think are the chances of starting a coral restoration at Hanauma Bay, because it has just had such a phenomenal natural resurgence. And we got tremendous support from Brian Nielsen, who is the head of the Division of Aquatic Resources, as well as Dr. David Golko, who leads the Hawaii Coral Restoration Nursery. And they're very excited about the project. And so they took our white paper and they turned that into a pilot project that the Coral Nursery can in fact support. And they introduced the pilot project for approval at last Friday's Board of Land and Natural Resources meeting. We got full approval to do that. And hopefully we'll be able to outplant 6 corals, 3 cauliflower coral and 3 elkhorn corals at these 2 sites at Hanauma Bay that you see up here on this picture of the bay. Now, Friends of Hanauma Bay is further partnering with DAR, and that we will be providing long-term monitoring of these 6 outplanted corals at the bay. Now, the Hawaii Coral Restoration Nursery is the only place in the world that has successfully found a process to accelerate the growth rates of slow-growing Hawaiian corals. Nowhere else in the world is able to do that. They are also one of only 2 places in Hawaii that can outplant or have successfully outplanted corals without introducing invasive species or any disease vectors. So the Coral Nursery and the Maui Ocean Center have been able to do that. And the Hawaii Coral Restoration Nursery has a 100% outplant success rate. So they are the people to go to in Hawaii to try to do any kind of coral restoration at Hanauma Bay. So DAR and the nursery are so excited about this opportunity that since we met with them in July, they have a proposal that they're starting to share with people and have shared with Representative Ward for a long-term 3-year coral restoration program at Hanauma Bay that will include 7 or 8 smaller projects, and you see them numbered on here on it. What this does is it's going to help increase the biosecurity of the corals at Hanauma Bay. They're only planning on outplanting corals that naturally grow there at Hanauma Bay. So if they're going to be outplanting more cauliflower coral, they'll pick sites in the bay that already have some growing. This will also allow the coral nursery to expand the number of corals of each species that live at Hanauma Bay, and which will serve as almost an extension of the rare and endemic Hawaiian coral arc that is maintained by the Hawaii Coral Restoration Nursery. So I'm really excited about this, and the DAR and the nursery is really excited about this, and the staff at the nursery is just phenomenal. These are Hawaii scientists who are dedicated to conserving and restoring Hawaii's corals for current and future generations of Hawaii residents, and they are absolutely the place to go to. This is not an outsourcing, this isn't a lowest bid. This is the world-class experts in Hawaiian corals who are willing to do this. So we're very excited to be part of that. Now we will help with some of the monitoring of these projects once this long-term proposal gets underway. But one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to find funding for the Coral Nursery to go ahead and proceed with this plan. So Friends of Hanauma Bay are reaching out to city and state legislators, to private sector funding to foundations. And we would really like to, because the Coral Nursery doesn't have the funding to do this. And so we're trying to help raise the money for them to be able to do this. It's so exciting.
No, I'm really excited for your organization and all the work you've been doing. And we only have a minute or two left, but just lastly, just a quick plug. How can people get involved and get connected with Friends of Hanauma Bay?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So people can become members of the Friends. They can make a donation to our citizen science, coral restoration, or our scholarship program. They can follow us on Facebook, on our website, and thanks to Anke, we now have a YouTube channel. She puts quite a few of the short videos of what the bay looks like when we go in on a monthly basis. So if you can't get into the bay, at least you can see what it looks like this month. Contact your elected officials, Governor Ige, the chair of the Board of Land and Natural Resources, and encourage them to provide funding for this long-term restoration, of Hanauma Bay. And also, we're trying to work to help the Coral Restoration Nursery have some scholarships and internship opportunities there. And so if anyone is looking to donate money so that some of our Hawaii students can have an internship in coral restoration at the nursery, please contact us and we can help make that happen. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you both to you and Anke for joining us today. And best of luck. And finally, just want to thank the viewers for being with us today, and also to Ōlelo Community Media for providing this forum. Again, this is produced by Livable Hawaii Kai Hui. This is host Kendrick Chang. I'm signing off. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.